When I say portable setup, I need something for voice communication, full duplex, which is very handy when you work in QRP. When some alligator is going over you and you first transmitted your prefix, you can continue with your suffix and you're still a small amount of time, so it proved to be very effective. Want to have both FM and SSB, so the easy sets but also the linear transponders. I want it truly portable because I take it during camping, so it's in the back of your tent and you want to get it out and not have 100 wires sticking out everywhere. And it's supposed to be on 2 meters, 70 centimeters, and the S-band 13 centimeters also in there. So I ended up with 2 times FT817. It's not a cheaper solution, but it works quite fine. So for the transceiver part, it's all mode voice. For the antennas, I experimented with the Arrow and a dual band HP9CV. And for this setup, there's actually no deplexer required for the antennas. That's mostly some problems. Extra deplexer, it's expensive and had some losses, so it's not needed here. So we got the famous Arrow antenna, and I have a quick comparison with the dual band HP9CV from PA1IVO in Germany. So it's tricky to put some gain figures in here, but I had a reference on the internet. The gain on 2 meters, it's about 6 dB, and 70 centimeters, 8 dB, around maybe +1. The other one is the HP9CV, and it's when you compare those two antennas, the Arrow is on different planes for different bands, and actually the HP9CV is in the same plane. The gain on 2 meters, it's 5 to 6 dB, which is also true for 70 centimeters, because it's the same antenna but three times smaller. When you use them in practice, you can really see the differences. They're both usable, but on 70 centimeters you have 3 dB less, and you really notice it when you have a low pass of satellite. You just don't receive it, or it's noisy. So you actually need an extra 3 dB, which is in the Arrow. And later on I have a few words on the ELK. I don't own an ELK, but I put an extra slide in there. And actually what I use the Arrow, and I take the HP9CV as a backup antenna with me. If one breaks down, it's still an extra antenna. So 2 times 817, when you work on mode VU, which is 2 meters up and 70 centimeters down. Most of you who did that will know you have some desensing issues. Most of the time it's too much 2 meter signal going into the preamp or the first stage, and it will completely desense your receiver. Actually, it's funny, when you say desensing, you start immediately to think of a mode J filter. Actually, that was not the solution here. The solution here was put a low pass filter in the transmission. So the typical mode J filter is not working here at my setup. In the next 2 slides I have some basic calculations which prove actually we need the low pass filter and not the mode J filter. So when you want to do some calculations on a mode VU system, actually you want to know how many signal from the 2 meters coming into the 70 centimeters, and what's in between the transmitter and receiver is the antenna. So the question is, what's the actual separation between the transceiver or the transmitter and receiver? So put a network analyzer between the 2 ports of the antenna just to see how it is. In the Arrow, when you put in a 2 meter signal, 55 dB less comes out on the other side, each side. And on 70 centimeters it's much less, it's only 23 dB. So when you put 70 centimeters in one end, you get 23 dB lower at the other end back. So for the 2 meters it's 55, for the 70 centimeter and the third harmonic of 2 meters, it's 23 less. And the interesting is, for the HP9CV, although it's in the same plane, the separation on 2 meters is actually a few dB more. You expect maybe less, but it's more. But it's on the other side, on 70 centimeter, it's worse less, it's only 8 dB. So almost everything you put in on one side, it's back on the other side. It's a little bit tricky when you have two transceivers on there. So do some calculations. What's the effect of the third harmonic of 2 meters on the 70 centimeters receiver? You start with 2.5 watts from the 817, which is 32 dBm. Then there's some suppression of the third harmonic, which is about 60 dB, which gives you minus 26 dBm. Then you get the separation of the arrow, which only 23 dB, third harmonic 70 centimeters, it's minus 49. Then you have the dynamic range of the FT817, it's not too well, but it's around 60 dB. So you end up with minus 109 dBm, which is the lowest thing you can receive when you're transmitting at the same time with 2.5 watts into your antenna. And actually it's impossible then to receive some weak signals. I googled some results, but it's not possible. And that's exactly what you experience in practice, it's just blocking out. So what's the effect of adding a 2 meter low pass filter, 50 dB or so? Same calculation, power, suppression. Here's the extra 50 dB suppression of your third harmonic. It gives you minus 159 dBm, which is sufficient to receive, so no desensing problems anymore. So adding a low pass filter solves your desensing problem for this setup. And actually I add a homemade low pass filter, just a small box, to the setup. And also build a small Mode J filter, but it didn't solve the problem, but actually it didn't help out anything, so it's still in the cabinet somewhere. Nice project. But. So what are the options for low pass filters? You can have a commercial one, for example the diamond one, it's 49 euros, it's 35 pounds I think. AMSAT-UK has also a diplexer, it doesn't look so nice and it's 4 euros more. This is my own one, it's not such a clear picture, it's just a few euros and has some really nice clip in the end, which will clip on my portable setup, which the other ones don't have. I think the other one's a little bit better, but this works fine. It's 45 dB or so, which is still fine. And also put the AMSAT-UK diplexer to a network analyzer. So when you want to use it as a low pass filter, you see the left, the image on the left, which gives you about 50 dB of attenuation. Which is also true for the UHF when you have a high pass filter. And the separation between VHF and UHF is 50 to 60 dB. We see that later for the ALK when you want to put a diplexer in between this separation between the two ports. So I do not own an ALK antenna, but just a few words because it's a new one. It's pretty nice, I think. But there's some diplexer dilemma for my setup. It's one separate transmitter and one receiver. I do not need a diplexer, so for the Arrow setup you do not need a diplexer, and but when you have only a single transceiver you need it. But for the ALK it's just the opposite. ALK does not really require a diplexer, which is very nice when you have one handheld from Kenwood. It's just connected directly. But for my setup you need to add a diplexer to it, so it's not so nice. So the question then is, when you use this one at my setup, what's the separation between the two bands? Which I think it's the worst of the separation of the antenna itself or the diplexer. And I'm happy to see it, how it performs at the analyzer, but I didn't have time. I just started last week with presentation. So 20 antennas, the 3 antennas. I think the gain on 2 meters is almost the same. It's not so different. And on 70 centimeters, it's clear the Arrows and the ALK just outperforming the HP9CV. Actually, the HP9CV is not so lightweight, so it's also more heavy. So I use the Arrow with the HP9CV as a backup. And which antenna do you need? It depends on so many things. It's about the budget, the link budget and your personal budget, money. the size, purpose, availability. The ELK is available in the UK AMSAT-UK shop, so you can get one. And your personal taste. Some people want ELKs, or someone wants arrows. So the nice thing about portable operations, and you can do easily demonstration in groups. Once went to a school, and they start building in on Friday, or start building up on Friday evening, the whole satellite station, whatever, and it takes them a few hours. I walked on Saturday morning, just grab my stuff, go outside, do the same thing. People really like that. But working full duplex, which is almost necessary, limits the listening for the spectators. You really get some audio feedback when you don't have headphones on it. So I tried to solve the problem. So these days you have small FM transmitters for in your car. You can put your iPod or whatever to the transmitter. It will transmit a really small signal onto your FM radio, and you can use your FM radio to listen to it. So I thought everyone has an iPod or a mobile telephone with a small radio on it, so we use that. It's an easy solution, no wires in between, people can run around. So I tweaked it a little bit to pump up the power a little bit, extra antenna. But actually in the practice, when you connect this one, you have to connect it to your receiver because you want to transmit your received audio. It completely blocks your receiver. It's such a dirty signal. So I gave it away again to someone else who wants to try. So now you have to share your iPod connectors. It's just a mini jack splitter, and this really works like a charm. You just connect it to your receiver, and you just plug in other headsets, and people can listen. The only thing you have to be aware of, people are not allowed to run away, because then it will all break up. So we have to see how that works. So adding S-bands to the portable setup. You saw the arrow. I bought an S-band patch antenna from John, and I modified to right-hand side circular polarized. It's standard left-hand, but when you just flip the radiator, it's right-hand side, which is for AO51. Add a large, bulky S-band down converter. I bought one, but it wasn't on the roof yet, so I thought, hey, let's give it a try. So I mounted it onto the arrow antenna. I used the bias T for powering it all, and I mounted it on the 70 centimeter part of the arrow. So I removed the 70 centimeter and left the 2 meter, which works exceptionally fine. It's just perfect. It's no problems at all. You need an extra attenuator at the back of the down converter, because it's 20 to 30 dB amplification, which is just too much in your FT817 when you have only 1 meter of coax. It's just, so I put an extra 10 or 20 dB attenuator. That's really high level of QRM at 2.4 gig, but it was still possible to make QSOs. And you all know the manual Doppler correction on 2.4 gig is just fun to. So some details. You see the patch antenna. I put a cucumber small box. I first ate it, and it's semi-waterproof. And you see the whole thing connected to the arrow antenna. It's quite heavy, but it's fun, so why not? I talked a little bit about the headset. The iSet is highly recommendable, a decent one. For FM, no, it's not so, but for the linear transponder it is. I did some tests with cheap computer headsets, just a few euros. They work for FM, it's fine, but it's insufficient audio drive for single sideband. You can hear yourself, but it's not fine, and you easily get to start some interference from your own signal. It's not working. What really works like a charm is the headset of Heil, you pronounce in English, I think. It's really powerful and clear audio, especially with single sideband. It's just perfect. No signs of interference at all. It's a bit expensive, I think, especially the extra connectors. And I selected the Traveler Dual. It's both sides mono. It's perfect, with some funny cable in there. This one you need to connect to the 817. So that's to be portable for the campsite. I put it all in a bag. It's just fitting. It's only a €10 photo bag from a shop. You can see on the picture on the left, at the right, you see the protection, some aluminium for the cables. When you put all your stuff in and out 50 times, all the cables will break up in the end. So I put an extra protection for that, just you can put it in and out without breaking all the cables. I put some BNC angles on the front, because have some convenient cables, because you're having all the stuff hanging in front of you, and when you have also the cables, this is better. And you see on the right side, the right picture, you see the low pass filter hanging there with a funny clip. This works perfectly. What is inside? Also some protection at the back, some aluminum plates. I put 4 fuses in there just to be sure in the field. You never know what you're doing when you're running outside at night. You're just messing up, and it's just a protection. Also 2 anti-parallel diodes. When you reverse polarity, you blow up your fuses and not your 817, which is not so good. And you see in the back there's some connector for your data. So when I'm tired of satellites or there's no satellite at all, I just plug the other cable and do some PSK on HF without having to remove all the radios there. So, is this a multi-purpose portable setup? I think so. Both FM and SSB is possible. The single channel FM is very convenient with the pre-programmed memories on your 817. It's just easy making a QSO. On the SSB transponder it's a little bit more tricky, but you have a decent setup with a good headset, so it's okay. So that's multi-mode capabilities. I tested mode VU, UV and VS, and no US because there's no US satellite currently, but it should work, I think. Actually, the down converter for S-band had the output on 2 meters and also had an uplink on 2 meters, but it's perfectly fine. It's no problems at all, no desensing or whatever. So made many QSOs with this setup, both at home as well on holidays in Norway and Scotland. Was perfectly fine. And I got a cool email report from Delphi C3, the transponder I used, especially for the Dutch people here and listening. Put some Dutch text in here. It's actually Wouter Jan who was listening and said, hey, I heard you calling CQ and it's a good signal. I suppose you have the 2 times 817 again, so it's okay. So, this is me in action somewhere, you can find me. That was my presentation.
Right, thank you very much for that. Right, do we have any questions from the floor? Wait for the microphone.
You said the drawback of the egg is you need a duplexer for the 2+3, but at the same time the duplexer removes the need for the filter, for the low pass filter.
Actually not, I think.
Because the low pass filter will give you some extra.
Yeah, but you need more.
Or
Sorry. It's like, yeah, it's around there. You got some separation here.
Yes.
Minus 49, and
but if you put the duplexer in it, the duplexer is basically a low pass and a high pass filter.
yeah, okay, but it gives you 60 dB instead of 50, so it's still on the edge. It's debatable, but you need some extra dBs extra. But the principle, yes, but in practice, only halfway.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions from the floor?
Which batteries do you use when you're out portable?
Okay, it's not in my presentation. Actually, I do not use the internal batteries because it's a hell of a job to recharge them. I use separate 12 volt 2.2 milliamp or amp hour. Yeah, just gel cells, and I put them in a hip bag here, and I put one cable on there, so it's really more convenient.
I've been using the lithium polymer ones, and I find they're absolutely brilliant.
Okay. We got some second hand from the dump store.
The only problem is they come in 11.1 volts or 14.4. I think you don't get a. You have to be a bit careful with your upper voltage level.
Yeah, 14 is a little bit tricky.
Yeah.
But they're very good. Power to weight.
Okay, any other questions from the floor? Any from the internet?
No.
None? Oh, one more from the floor. Go on.
Hello, thank you for your presentation, it's very interesting. Out of all your years of experience with multiple satellite operation, what would you say is the most enjoyable satellite you operated in the last few years?
Most enjoyable satellite. I think when you start was the EasyBird FM. I think the first QSO I made was with IP in Denmark with the HP9CV. It was not this setup. That's really enjoyable. And when you move on, I think it's more the linear transponder, which is more a challenge. But anyway, when you're in the field up in Scotland, sitting on the mountain, it's all fun and nice, and especially when you're on the good side of when you're far away. Everyone wants to have a QSO with you instead of being in Holland, and everyone from Holland and whatever tries to make a QSO with the other side. So go on holiday on the good side, and everyone wants a QSO with you. That's no problem anymore. So.
Okay. Any more? Right, thanks again, Ivo, for that.